Hi, Titans. I hope you enjoyed that video by Mark Rober. I know I sure did. I am always blown away at his ingenuity and his application of scientific processes in order to solve problems and create new things. So I'm always in awe of him. The biggest reason why I wanted you to take a look at that was because I wanted to lead into evolution and the idea behind squirrels. And so when I learned about evolution when I was in high school or college, one of the biggest things that stood out in my mind was the evolution of these two squirrels that lived on different sides of the Grand Canyon. And one of them is called the Abert squirrel, and it actually occupies more of a geographic region. It is through more of North America. And then there's the Kabib squirrel, and it only occupies a smaller portion. They both live in fir forests. They're both squirrels. They both scavenge for acorns and things in the pine forest there, but they are different and slightly unique ways. They started out as one squirrel species, and then as the Grand Canyon formed, it divided them so much so that they could no longer intermix. And because of slight variations in each of their environments, they began to accumulate changes, and they changed so much that if you were to introduce the two squirrels together, they're too different to be able to produce offspring. They've actually formed new species. And when I first learned about this, I was kind of blown away. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And it's like a true story. It really exists. You could look this up. But this is an example of the process of evolution. Now, I know that the idea evolution can spur on different thoughts based on your background knowledge and what you've been taught before. A lot of people really haven't been taught evolution correctly. Evolution is how a species can change over time, and accumulations of these changes can cause different species to form. And this is the crux of what Charles Darwin talked about. Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin was born in, I believe, 1809, and he was this naturalist. So he studied nature. He was meticulous about his studies in nature and recorded tons of things. So he actually scored a spot on the HMS Beagle. His dad had some pull there in Great Britain, and he was the naturalist on this ship that was to chart the geography of South America. And so he was on the HMS Beagle for 5 years, collecting specimens, taking a look at the landforms, collecting fossils. And that really got his mind marinating. That and a lot of the other theories at the time, in terms of looking at the geography, in terms of looking at where are species coming from, why are species changing, and all of this information he kind of compiled together, and over the course of 20 or so years came up with his idea of evolution through natural selection. He published his findings in 1859 in a book called The Origin of Species, but this book was extremely controversial because in many ways the people back then thought it went against the religion of the time, and that was very controversial for him. I don't think he was the kind of person who was into stirring up controversy. He just kind of was a scientist, and he had come up upon this truth. And so he was vilified for it, but in the day. But now we consider evolution to be truly the bedrock of biology. It marries all of these concepts and gives us an idea for how things are changing and how all of these amazing diversities of species live and exist on Earth, and how most of those species have gone extinct, and how we are going to continue to evolve. All these different organisms will continue to evolve over time, us humans as well. And we can even see the remnants of our evolution in our bodies in terms of vestigial structures. I mean, we have a tailbone. What? Where's that from? Well, it's from the stuff we evolved from. What didn't exist back in Charles Darwin's day was DNA. They didn't know about DNA. And so for him, that would have been like the icing on the cake, the organic cherry on top of the sundae. It really would have helped him to, I think, allow things to settle in and feel more confident about his idea and theory at the time. Now, I'm going to say the theory of evolution, but a theory is a well-tested, proven idea in science, kind of like the theory of gravity. We know it exists. This is fact. And there's a lot of evidence to back it up. So in this slideshow, you are going to be exposed to tons of information, like tons of information. I have put in simulations about pollen peepers and about skeletal structures in organisms that tie together wolves and whales, and the idea that you have to look beneath the surface to see some of these structural similarities. I've also put in there a really cool game called Who Wants to Live a Million Years? And you're going to get to play with variants of an organism to see if you're able to withstand a million years of evolution based on different things that are going to cause you to struggle to survive. There's also a hands-on activity that you are going to do with breeding bunnies. And so you're going to simulate how gene frequency is affected by the environment. But the whole basis for this is for you to understand the concept of natural selection and how our environment causes species with better adaptations at that time to be able to survive and pass those on. Now, is this all there is to know about evolution? My goodness, no. This is a sum up. This is a weak glimpse into the topic of evolution. Is there more to know? Oh my goodness, yes. Is there more complexity than what I'm getting into? For sure. You will learn a lot more about this in 10th grade biology, but this is going to lay a really nice foundation for you. So stick around. Take a look at the whole slideshow before you take the quiz at the end. So by the time this is over, you are going to do 2 simulations, play a game, do a hands-on activity, watch a handful of videos, play a Kahoot, and then finally take the quiz. And so I think after all of that, you should have a pretty good idea of what evolution through natural selection is. If you have questions, email me anytime. I'm available to do a meet with you individually. We're going to have a group meet on Wednesday to kind of go over some of the things. You may have questions about the hands-on experiment. I'm going to simulate that for you, so make sure that you're clicking on those links to have my explanation and my modeling of that. But otherwise, enjoy. This is one of my favorite topics. I think that it's a wonderful way to kind of connect all the sciences and really make sense of the natural world around us. Enjoy.